Hey everyone, Happy New Year. I'm Craig Duran with the Duran Group over at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. I've got our 2020 year in review for Breakfast Point. We're going to go through this in three sections. It's going to be a little bit different than what you've normally seen if you've watched these videos before. In fact, it's going to be the most comprehensive look at the market that I've probably ever done. I'm going to do it in three sections. First of all, we're going to look at the overall housing market in Panama City Beach in our price range. Look at a couple important statistics. I want you guys to see what the overall market's doing. And then we're going to look at Breakfast Point specifically. And we're going to do it by, we're going to break it down by square footage. So I'm going to look at 1,500 square feet to 2,000 square feet. We're going to look at homes priced or square footage between 2,000, 2,500, and then 2,500 plus. But we're going to break each one of those down by resales and new construction. I want you guys to see they're two very different markets. Obviously some similarities, but there's some different things happening. So I just want to show you that a little bit so we can get some sense of the appreciation that's happening in Breakfast Point compared to the rest of the market. And then the last section is just going to be a look ahead to 2021, what we sort of expect in the housing market in Breakfast Point. And for those of you who are selling or thinking about selling this year, I've got a couple pro tips for to talk about pricing and timing of things that may help you reap some benefits there. So let's start with some statistics from last year. This is looking at the entire beach, and right here you can see we're priced between 300,000 and 550,000. I thought that would be a pretty good comparison for our market. Remember, this is bringing in everything on the beach. Some of these are in subdivisions, some of these are not, some of these are brand new, some of these are much older. So these are some averages for the entire market. And then we're going to get to Breakfast Point next. So last year, there were 10% more new homes that came up for sale, not new construction, just new listings that hit the market in 2020. There were 10% more new listings in this price range than we saw the year before. However, we had 23% more new contracts written last year. And stop and think about this for a second. Real estate is a pretty slow moving thing. Even when there's volatility in real estate, it's not as fast moving as the stock market generally. So when you see, or it wouldn't be unusual for me to see something like 3 or 4 or 5% more contracts written. Normally we're selling about the same amount of homes per year. One year it's up a little, one year it's down a little. In this market, 300,000 to 550,000 on the beach, we sold 23% more. We wrote contracts on 23% more homes than we did the year before. And look at this. Let me cover up this 666 right here. We sold 25% more new homes than we did in 2019. 25% is a huge number. And if you look at it in sales volume right here, we sold not quite $197 million worth of real estate in this market. In 2019, that went up to over $250 million in sales in this price range, up 27%. The average sales price only went up 1% in this market. Now remember, this is affected by, we're looking at all different sizes, styles, ages, conditions of homes here. So what I would tell you on the appreciation side, and we're going to look at that in a second for Breakfast Point, this is being pulled, the appreciation, the average sales price moving up is being pulled down a little bit by some products in some of the other markets. One other thing to remember, I know you guys know, I love this chart. A couple important things to know here. This is the overall market again still. This red line represents the number of homes for sale in any given month at any given time. And something to make note of is, look, we have the most homes available for sale in this price range than we've had in 2 years. Remember, the black line is the number of sales. So the black line is keeping up somewhat. Remember, the best way to interpret this is to really dive into this months of inventory number. For those of you who have not heard my months of inventory spiel before, I'll give you the short version this time. Remember, months of inventory came about historically. 5 or 6 months of inventory represented a neutral market in real estate, meaning it would take 5 or 6 months to work through the whole process. So someone calls a real estate agent to market the property, starts the marketing gets going at, internet ads, print media ads, direct mail, all that. Few months to show the house, negotiate a contract, 30, 45 days to close. That whole process would take 5 or 6 months. 5 or 6 months of inventory would be a normal pace of things, which represents a neutral, even market in real estate. Obviously, if our months of inventory number gets to 4 or to 3 or to 2, if that whole process is happening much faster, there's more demand in the market. Homes are selling faster. You might hear stories of multiple offers. Prices are generally going up the longer we stay in a seller market territory. So look at what happened in this market in 2020. Starting at the beginning of the year, we were in a very, very hot market, low 2s, mid 2 months of inventory, meaning theoretically that means that every house that was on the market for sale, say in February, would sell out in 2.73 months if nothing else came up for sale. That's the kind of demand we saw. We slowed down in April to 5 months of inventory, almost twice as slow, more than twice as slow, directly as a result of the pandemic coming out in March. We didn't write a lot of contracts in March. Things slowed down a little bit, but they picked right back up. Look at May and June. Very quickly, we're back to 3.66 months of inventory, which is very much a seller's market, down to 1.94. We're in the 1.94 and 1.88 in July. That's very, very hot. We've started to slow down a little bit. October, November, December, we've gone from 2.88 to 3.11 to 3.28. We're trending softer, but we're trending softer from an extremely, extremely hot market. So we haven't got all the way to neutral yet, normal. We're still very much seller market territory. We're going to have to watch that trend and see if our normal spring market picks up some of that and maybe it keeps the number around the 3s or back down to the 2s, or do we continue this year to soften and soften and soften? If we start going back to 4 or 5 months of inventory, maybe 5, 6 months of inventory, that's the market really slowing down. That's when you would expect prices to flatten out, things like that. And of course, if we kept going, if we went to 7, 8, 9, 10 months of inventory, now we're really seeing a sluggish market, a real big slowdown. We don't see that at this point. There's just some things to talk about. Looking at Breakfast Point specifically, saying a little bit of a different idea. Look at the red line here. We had a ton of inventory here early 2019. A lot of this was from the new construction listings that were on the MLS for sale. A lot of that's gone away, but we're doing just the opposite in Breakfast Point. As you well know, there's just not much for sale. If you look at the months of inventory number, look at this. We're dramatically outperforming the rest of the market that I talked about. Look, we're under 1 month of inventory at the beginning of last year. Our slowest month is in June at 3.67. We are cooling off a touch, but we're cooling off from molten lava hot, under 1 month of inventory, even a couple months. That's just extremely, extremely hot market. And to speak to that, a few of the deals we did last year, we helped some people sell. The one just closed on December 4th was under contract before it was even out in the MLS system. We got such a strong offer. The sellers loved it. We got the deal closed, pushed the appraised price, and got it closed. So again, very hot market inside of Breakfast Point. Now let's go by, this is where I'm going to look at price appreciation inside of Breakfast Point. So starting with homes that are between 1,500 and 2,000 square feet, I've got this organized by sold date. So every one of these next tabs I'm going to show you, we're starting early in the year, going later in the year, and we're just looking at pricing. Even with the ranges limited to 500 square feet, we're still talking about, there's still so much variety. I haven't even broken this out by pool homes or not, but we at least are going to get some general sense of how things are moving because they're very different between resales and new. So in resales, look, 340 at the beginning of the year, moved up to 350. Another 330 sale in July, 340 again, 344, 950, 337, moved up to 370 and 355. So I would contend we have some slight appreciation here. We didn't even think about a 370 earlier in the year. 350 had kind of been our top out in February. One note before we go in any further on, well, we're going to talk about appraisals and pricing when we talk about some strategies at the end. It's very difficult or as challenging in this market as prices want to move up for appraisers to keep up with that. It's not unusual for a buyer and seller to come to an agreement on a price that's here, and the appraisal comes in this range. You have to be prepared for that. You have to have some things. You have to have some strategies in place to deal with that. And some of that comes before the appraisal happens. Most of that comes before the appraisal happens. We'll talk about that in a second. If we look at this same 1,500 to 2,000 square feet pricing, these are all the new construction sales. Now, keep in mind, this is coming from a, sorry, 1 second. I want to make sure I've got something right here for you. That's what I thought. Sorry about that. I was pulling some stuff in from in town. Okay, breakfast point only. Remember, we're looking at some sales starting in January. A lot of these contracts were written early 2019, late 2019. So we're really kind of looking at some 2019 prices trickling in to this year, especially, well, let's start there. So early on, 302, 298, 292, 367, 308, 300, 305, 368. I know those are probably different floor plans, but 355, 325, we're looking at 30 plus sales here. So 330s, all of a sudden we've got some 365s, 369, 369, now 349s, 369s, the low numbers. There's no twos anymore. You know, we're about not even halfway through the year, and there are no high twos, low threes. We're now at 325, 377, 337 is the low. You know, starting here in August, well, let's go to July. 325 is now kind of the low, moved up from 300. So think about appreciation just from that standpoint. Now we're pushing 379, 379. Probably a new low in September is 355. No, there's one at 339. But late in the year, 339 is our low. We've got to go back to July to get a 325. So prices are moving up dramatically in Breakfast Point. 339 now is the bottom. Look at this. We're now 384.9, 382. We're now approaching, not quite there, but we're approaching $400,000 for a home, square footage 1,500 to 2,000 square feet. And remember, the new construction contracts are written pretty far in back, 5 or 6 months before. So the market's still moving very, very well. Resales between 2,000 square feet and 2,500 square feet. I know there are a couple pool homes in here. Those will sort of jump out at us, but same idea. Let's look at what happened. 355, 405, 395 early in the year. Oh, sorry. Only one sale really early in the year, 355. We had to wait until June to sell another house, and a resale in that range, 405, 395, 380, 384. A little later in the year now, look, 427, 500, 390, 378, now low fours, 435, 448. We did that one with a pool, and 454. Obviously, again, some really stout appreciation, especially third and fourth quarter. Looking at that same square footage, so 2,000 to 2,500 square feet in new construction. 364s, 411, 444. I know, again, big variety in floor plans, so the prices will jump around some, but I'm just looking for some trends here. So let's start with the low end. So 364 is my low that I can find here. It moves up to 372 a couple months later. There's a 370. Let's see if we see anything under that. We don't see, since April, we don't have anything under 400. If we look at some of the larger plans, 411, 444, 442, 429, 650, 439, 4440, 429.9. So maybe not a ton of appreciation on the higher end of that range in new construction. Again, some of that has to do with upgrades and things like that. The larger homes, 2,500 plus square feet. These are resales again. 465 earlier in the year. That one did have a pool in January. 442 did not have a pool. We did that in February. 525, that one did have a pool. Oh, I'm sorry, did not have a pool. 525, a monster sale early in the year in February. 395, 450, 459, 418, 448. Now look at this, 535, 467, 495, 467. So pushing some higher numbers here. Again, quite a bit of variety in the resale market because some resales are 1 or 2 years old. Some resales are 6 and 7 years old. That all plays into it too, but we just don't have time today to get into all of the differences. 2,500 square feet plus new construction. A little bit all over the board here. I mean, there's a stout sale at 537 early in the year, moved up to 548 as the top end as the year went on. Probably a little different plan, 424, 464, 431, 422, bouncing around a little bit. It's hard to pull a trend there just because of upgrades and things like that with new construction. But as you can see, especially in those some of the smaller floor plans, the 2-bedroom resales, the 1-bedrooms, the 1,500 to 2,000 square feet homes, both resales and new saw a lot of appreciation. 2,000 to 2,500 square feet, a lot of appreciation. The resales maybe not as much in the it was hard to pick up in the new construction. Now let's talk about pricing and timing a little bit, especially those of you who are thinking about selling this year. This may be very important, but just to kind of look ahead at, how long can this market go? Remember, we're looking at a chart from a company called Showing Time. Showing Time is a system that real estate agents and brokers use to schedule showing appointments. I started looking at this right at the beginning of the pandemic. I knew that we were going to see a dramatic fall off in people getting out to look at real estate, right? So in 2020, this is the orange line, 2019 is the blue line. But by end of May, we really showed as much or even more real estate in 2020 as we did last year, which surprised a lot of people, especially if you really look here towards the end of the year. We're outpacing last year most of the rest of the year. But what's most important and really important to think about in terms of timing, if you're thinking of selling, is notice that we're showing less real estate overall this time of year compared to this time of year. Look at this 0% baseline. It's getting reset right now, but it's the same idea. Really, by early February, there's a very dramatic pickup in people getting out to look at real estate. Now, this chart's taking account into all of Florida, condos, houses, South Florida, North Florida, all of that. So there's going to be a lot of this probably is more accurate for South Florida since there's so many more people down there. But and I would contend for us seasonally, we see another little spike here. But for the most part, if you're thinking about selling, the markets now, look at everything that's just happened. Look at how hot the market is in some of those statistics I showed you earlier. Don't wait unless you have a real need. Common one obviously is you want the kids to finish out a school year. But I would still contend that we're right at the time to start to get some marketing going and push the pricing. We're going to talk about pricing next. This is not the kind of market to price in line with what just happened. This is the kind of market to really push the envelope and find someone that is willing to pay the most money and figuring out a way to do that. And especially right now, look, if someone wants a home in the near future and don't want to wait to build, there are only 3 choices right now. And we'll see how long those even last on the market. Pricing, this is a very important part. It's very easy for a real estate agent to walk into someone's house and say, okay, you're thinking about putting up for sale. All the pricing is right here for the last 3 or 4 months. You should better just price it right here because the appraisals are going to come in at a certain range and all those kinds of things. This is the kind of market to price aggressive. Certainly, plenty of buyers are limited by what something may appraise for. So say you're under contract for $350 and the appraisal comes in at $338. There are plenty of buyers who can only pay up to the $338 that the bank's giving them. They're not putting very much down. That kind of contract, the seller in that case will be very limited by what the buyer can do. But there are a lot of other buyers out there, especially in this market, that have the wherewithal to close transactions even above the appraised value. Working with someone right now as of today, we sent a counteroffer back last night. She's on her 5th or 6th offer. We've only been on the market about 3 weeks, and she's being very, very patient. And she started with an offer that was pretty decent. It was in line with recent pricing, but someone was looking for 100% financing, which is fine. Those deals close, but she wanted someone that was putting a little bit more down payment in case the appraisal comes in low. We were patient. Second offer, third offer, fourth offer. She's now up to a full price offer, but it was contingent on the sale of another property. Another offer, we leveraged that offer against another offer who raised their price, and they're putting 20% down. Now we have the ability to deal with the potential for a low appraisal, and this can save, we're talking maybe $3, $4, $5, $8, $10,000, in some cases more than that. That this seller is going to make that much more money just by being prepared and being a little patient and pushing the pricing, getting aggressive with pricing. This is the kind of market that you can do that in. You can't price unreasonably, but you can push the envelope. You're not limited to what just sold yesterday. That's an old market. Also, you have to have some strategies in place. If you are going to price aggressive, make sure that you have some strategies, and you talk about, especially if you're working with a real estate agent, that you have a plan for the appraisal potentials. There's a couple things you can do before an appraisal comes in, before the appraiser's even out there. There's some very, very interesting things you can do to control that situation. I've only seen it done one other time in 17 years of doing this. So it's something that's not regularly done. I don't think there are a lot of agents that even know about it. But there's some things you can do before the appraisal to help the cause. And there's some things you can do when negotiating the contract to make sure you're working on something that can close at the number that you want. Remember, in this market, especially in Breakfast Point, it's not a matter of being able to potentially sell a house. Getting a contract in this market is not terribly difficult. Getting a contract to close at a price that maximizes is the challenge. So think about those things. I think most of you are signed up on our e-alerts. If you're not already, remember our e-alert system. You can be notified anytime something comes up for sale, something goes under contract, changes price, or sells, and it's the actual real sold price and sold date. It's not what your neighbor said they sold it for. It's the actual data. It's coming straight from our MLS system, the realtor system. We can set you up to be alerted as often as you want or infrequently as you want. We can do it daily, instantly, even as soon as anything happens, you can be alerted. If you just want it once a day, we can do that. If you want it once a week or once a month and you just want to see an overview of what's happening, we can do that for you. We can set it up to follow Breakfast Point. If you want to follow other neighborhoods, we can do that. If you only want to follow certain bedroom counts in Breakfast Point, hey, I only want to follow the 3 bedrooms, or I only want to follow over a certain square footage. Any way that you can come up with a search, we can do this. And the couple ways we're using this that people really find it helpful. If you're just trying to keep track of your property value, it's a very, very good way. Just get the sold data once per month. You'll see what it is. There's no fee for this. There's no commitment on working with us. It's just good, solid information. I've been selling real estate since 2003, and this is probably the best system I've ever seen at delivering accurate information to people who don't have a real estate license. We can set you up. For as owners, it's a nice way to keep track of your real value. For anybody who's buying, it's a really nice way to stay on top of things. You can be alerted instantly anytime there's something up for sale or something that changes price that is in your price range or your criteria. So if you haven't signed up for that and you want to be, just shoot me an email to craig@craigduran.com or shoot me a text 850-527-0221. Let me know your criteria. We'll get you signed up. Again, it's free. There's no charge for that. The presentation is very, very nice. It even looks great on mobile. So whatever house comes over that you're trying to track, you can click on it. You can see the interior photos, exterior photos, read the full description. So it really can help you compare what you have versus what is happening in the market. So I know it's a little longer this time, guys, almost 25 minutes. I just really wanted to break it down by square footages for you this time. I know that's a lot. If you want me to send you any of that data or sign up for the e-alerts or just have some questions about real estate, I'm always around. Just let me know. I think most of you know I live in Breakfast Point, so happy to help neighbors, especially anytime. Thanks, guys. Stay safe. We'll be in touch.